The Ethran came through the north door at a dead run, and I had my rifle up before I recognized the collar markings. 12 of them. Full cohort, battered. One soldier with a field dressing around his upper arm that had already soaked through. Cohort Commander Desev was in front, and he pulled up hard when he saw my barrel, and for about 2 seconds neither of us moved. Behind him, through the door he'd just come through, I could hear the surge moving in the lower corridor. That low wet sound it made when it was cycling through new material. We'd been listening to it for 40 minutes. I lowered the rifle. "How many do you have left down there?" I said. Desev's translator bead had a half-second lag. When he spoke, his voice came out flat and clipped, the way all Ethran voices did through the bead. "The lower level is lost. Approximately 400 mobilized units. The surge is expanding the colony upward." "I know," I said. "We were on the lower level an hour ago." He looked at me with those pale compound eyes the Ethran had, the ones that caught light the way a camera lens did. I had been on the wrong end of Ethran rifle fire twice in my career. The Reach Fleet and the Joint Marine Commission had been trading contested corridor claims in this sector for 11 years. Desev and I had no arrangement, no treaty, no standing order that covered what was currently happening. What we had was one upper corridor, one set of approaches, and 400 mobilized dead things below us that the Vorkai surge was running like distributed limbs. "My unit," I said. 4 Marines. "Yours." 11 effective. 1 requiring medical attention within 6 hours. I did the math. 15 fighters, 1 partially usable, against 400 surge-driven units that did not stop when you shot them in the chest. The surge was a colony organism. The individual mobilized bodies were extensions. You had to destroy enough of the body to make the extension inoperable, which meant twice the ammunition per target that you'd spend on a living combatant, and we had burned through most of our load on the way up. How long until extraction? I said, 7 hours minimum. Our distress signal was acknowledged 40 minutes ago. I pulled a ration pack from my vest and tore the wrapper off and turned it over. The inside face was pale grey, smooth enough. I took the grease pencil I kept clipped to my chest rig for equipment markings and crouched down and drew 2 parallel lines. Desev watched me. I drew a circle at the point where the 2 lines narrowed toward each other. The corridor geometry of Junction Outpost Verith was simple. One main approach from the lower level, funneling into a bottleneck at the base of the upper level stairwell before it widened into our corridor. The bottleneck was 8 feet across. The surge could move 4 bodies abreast through it at maximum. I wrote 11 words beneath the diagram, stood up, and handed Desev the wrapper. He looked at it. His translation bead wouldn't help him with handwriting, so I said the words aloud. "Hold the circle. Kill the front 4. The rest stack up behind them." He looked at the wrapper for a long moment. Then he looked at the corridor plan I'd sketched. The Ethran used formation doctrine built around open field engagement, flanking corridors, coordinated suppression from multiple angles, movement as the primary tactic. A fixed choke point defense was not in their manual. I knew this because we had spent 11 years exploiting the fact that they didn't fight well in confined linear spaces. "You want us to hold a fixed position," he said. "I want us to hold one fixed position and make them come to us 8 feet wide instead of 40. "Yes." Another long pause. The surge sound was closer. He passed the wrapper to the soldier on his left and said something in Ethran I didn't catch. The soldier looked at the diagram, passed it right, and it went down the line. Each of his 11 soldiers looked at it for 2 or 3 seconds and passed it on. Then Desev turned to me and said, "Show us where." We set the line at the top of the stairwell. I put my 4 Marines on the left side of the bottleneck, 3 Ethran on the right, and Desev's remaining 8 soldiers in a staggered line back into the corridor behind us for rotation. When the front pair ran dry, they pulled back and the next pair stepped up. I had Corporal Sund work out the rotation timing with the Ethran squad leader using hand signals because the translation bead couldn't keep up with tactical cadence. The surge hit the base of the stairs at 0340 local transit time. They came the way the surge always moved new material, fast at first, then pressing, bodies packing into whatever space was available. The front 4 hit the bottleneck and we dropped them. The next 4 pressed over the bodies and we dropped those. The stack built fast. By the 20-minute mark, there was a wall of inoperable surge material clogging the base of the choke point 8 feet deep, and the surge was having to drag its own previous extensions out of the way to push new ones through. That was the geometry. The surge was large enough that it could have gone around us, found a secondary approach, flanked the corridor, but large colony organisms were not fast strategic thinkers. The Vorkai surge worked by pressure and volume. It pushed where there was resistance because resistance meant biomass to add to the colony. It didn't root around. It pushed. So we made it push through 8 feet instead of 40, and we dropped everything that came through those 8 feet, and the stack got deeper and slower and harder for the surge to clear. At the 90-minute mark, Desov's wounded soldier went down. Not from the surge, the field dressing gave out. Internal. He was gone before anyone could do more than move him back from the line. At the 3-hour mark, I lost Sergeant Brav. He'd been rotating back to reload and caught a surge extension that had squeezed through a gap in the stack while we were switching pairs. Fast. No warning. I don't dwell on fast. At the 4-hour mark, the surge pulled back. Not retreated, reorganized. It pulled the stack clear and went quiet for 20 minutes. When it came again, it tried a secondary approach we hadn't covered, a maintenance access corridor that opened into our position from the east. Desov had his 8 rotate to cover it before I finished pointing. He didn't ask. He looked at where the sound was coming from and he moved his soldiers and they held the secondary choke the same way we'd held the primary. The wrapper was in his breast pocket by then. He'd kept it there after it finished going down the line. The secondary push lasted 40 minutes. We lost Lance Corporal Aaron at the 30-minute mark. Surge extension through a gap. Also fast. Then the secondary went quiet and the primary stayed quiet and we waited. Extraction came at 0621. 2 Joint Commission transports and an Ethran Reach Fleet carrier shuttle, arriving within 6 minutes of each other because the distress signals had gone to both command chains simultaneously. The carrier shuttle's ramp came down and an Ethran senior officer walked out in parade dress and looked at Desov for a long moment before looking at me and looking at the pile of inoperable surge material at the base of the stairwell and not saying anything. The Joint Commission transport had a captain aboard who handed me a water pouch and asked me what tactical doctrine I had employed. I took the water and drank half of it before I answered. Geometry, I said. He wrote something on his handheld. Can you be more specific? Make them come to you through a small hole and shoot everything that fits through the hole. He wrote that down too. I don't know what category he filed it under. Desov's cohort boarded the carrier shuttle. He was the last one up the ramp. He stopped at the top and turned around and looked across the extraction pad at me, and I looked back at him. There was nothing to say that the translation bead could have handled, so neither of us said anything. He had the ration wrapper in his right hand. He looked down at it once, then back at me. Then he folded it carefully and put it in his breast pocket and went inside and the ramp came up. The after-action report filed by the Joint Commission listed the engagement as a coordinated Ethran human defensive action at Junction Outpost Verith, resulting in successful surge containment pending extraction. It credited combined tactical coordination for the outcome. It noted 2 human fatalities and 1 Ethran fatality. It did not specify what the coordination had looked like or what it had been drawn on. Brav and Aaron got the commendation they deserved. I made sure the paperwork was complete before I signed anything else. 3 months later, I got a data packet through the Joint Commission Liaison Office. No cover letter. Inside was a high-resolution scan of a ration wrapper, both sides. The outside showed the brand markings of a standard Joint Commission field ration, Type 4. The inside showed 2 parallel lines, 1 circle, and 11 words in grease pencil. Below the 11 words, in Ethran script I needed a translator to read. Someone had added 7 more. The translation came back. Asterisk, this is what the circle looked like when it held .asterisk. I have the scan in my service file. When people ask me what tactical doctrine I employed at Verith, I tell them geometry. When they push me on it, I tell them it's a shape any grunt knows. You find the smallest hole the enemy has to come through and you stand next to the hole and you shoot. I don't tell them I drew it on a piece of trash in about 45 seconds. Some things don't need a doctrine name to work. They just need someone to draw the circle and hand it across the line to whoever's standing there with you. Brav knew that. Aaron knew it too. The Ethran learned it in a corridor at Verith, and they kept the paper.